Welcome to today's episode of CLCI Live, brought to you by the award-winning and ICF accredited school, Certified Life Coach Institute. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
Welcome in Beyond the New. We are here to do another CLCI Live, and we're going to talk today about being rebels, rebellion, rebels, all things rebellious and rebel-like, maybe a little more than that too. Before we get going, the one thing I do want to invite everybody who's watching to please go ahead and leave comments. We are monitoring them. We do want to hear from you. So, hi, Janelle, we see you. Hello. So join in the conversation, leave comments, do all that good stuff. We really enjoy hearing from you. Also, we might have some people join us, come in and out. I think Kyle is here. Jerome's having some sound issues, but hopefully he gets it fixed so he can come in. So we'll all just take turns. So let's talk a little bit about my cat's a rebel, about what we mean when we're talking about being or just rebellion or being a rebel. What does that mean to you guys?
Rebellious spirit. To me, I'm hearing an echo. But to be rebellious is there's like a status quo or a rule or like some sort of like established like norm. Let's just say that. And someone comes along and says, this is freaking dumb. I want to do something different. And then they not only just go do their own thing, but they challenge the norm. So there has to be kind of like friction going on, maybe like a thesis antithesis sort of thing, where you're butting heads.
Does the friction always have to happen? Like, does that have to be a thing? Because there are businesses that sort of, I guess you could say they encourage rebellion. Like they encourage people to think outside of the box and to stand up and say, hey, we were doing it this one way for this long. Maybe this way will work instead. That in itself is kind of a form of rebellion, is it not? Thoughts, folks? Kyle, hello. We're going to switch to this view, I think.
So, yeah, I think it's going around and exploring and experimenting things and testing. Is that really the way that we need to do things? Maybe there's other ways that can be beneficial to us. And the only way to test that is to go outside of that box, like you're talking.
When in the podcast I was listening to, well, we'll talk, actually, I'll bring that up in a minute, but let's keep sharing. Jen, what is rebellion to you?
To me, it's like not following the herd or not following what is conventionally known as accepted. It's finding something that is within you, whether that's, it's just following something within you, and that's not necessarily within others, and accepting all the things that come with it too. I think rebels know that there's things that come with being a rebel.
What things?
I'm just, I guess, thinking for myself, like the areas that I'm rebellious in. I'm not rebellious in all areas, but I am in some. But like, I guess in some areas in life, I'm kind of a weirdo, or, I'm different. And that's from my rebel spirit for sure.
How are you weird or different? I'm kind of curious now.
I mean, we don't even have enough time for how I'm weird or different.
Oh, okay. You're right. We only have an hour to go into that.
Many ways. I mean, one is that I just don't like trends, right? That's a perfect example. I don't like trends. When something is trendy and popular, I don't like it.
Just automatically?
I just typically am like, no, not for me.
So for me, like I have had this like ongoing like battle where I'll be really into something and then for whatever reason it becomes really trendy. Like I was into it long before, and then it gets, so then I have this like internal struggle where it's like, but I love it, I can't stop loving it because everybody loves it now, because that would make me like so like it's this internal battle where I have to stay true to what I love even though everybody and their mother now loves it. And I just have to
Oh,
like, okay, that's cool, it's just, it's got its time, it's okay, it's just that the things I like become cool at some point, it's all good.
Yeah, I
It's always tough for me.
age-old struggle of being a hipster.
Right?
Liking things before other people do.
I feel that struggle too. I definitely experience that sometimes too.
Mine was like nerdy things. Like I was really into pirates, and then Pirates of the Caribbean movies came out, and I was like, I hate you guys.
Pirates were rebels.
Yeah, but if you're talking about like true historical pirating, and then even like modern pirates suck. And then, but
they're
it's
Yeah,
not
they're
nearly,
like dingy
it's not
little
nearly as
bit.
glamorous as you might think it might be being a pirate. But
I
for
am
sure, yes,
detective.
they're absolutely rebels. Unless you're a corsair. Corsairs were less rebellious, but they're still considered pirate into the pirate kind of realm. So
On the topic of piracy, pirating movies and music, you know, very common thing that I may or may not have done in the late 2000s. That's rebellious, you know.
I
I
guess
think
it would
I'm
be.
like a pretty badass guy for doing that, or not doing that. Who knows? I'm not admitting to anything. Kyle, what do you think a rebel is?
I would say someone doing things without a cause. Just having no
Without a
reason. Yeah, no reason, no rhyme. Just to do it, just to be a rebel.
See, I think that that's just being reckless. Like, I think that there's a difference. I think that there's a big difference between being rebellious and being reckless. And I think that that's kind of where, in this realm, where I like, there are parts of me that are proud to be a rebel, right? But I shared something I wrote with Jen. There's also parts of me that realize if I'm rebelling against anything, I'm immediately buying into it. Like I'm immediately giving it some kind of power, because that means that, okay, it's awesome enough, or whatever, it's big enough, it's accepted enough, whatever it is, to have some kind of power over me, that I have to rebel against it. So like that in itself is again an internal struggle as somebody who has been a self-professed rebel. Right? Because the moment you are saying you're to rebel against something, you've given it power over you, right? At that point, have you not?
I don't know if giving it power, like if we're talking about like real rebellions, like historical rebellions, then the power is just like there. You can't ignore it. You're not giving it power. It's just there. So like, okay, not real life example, but behind me, rebel symbol from Star Wars. You can think of any historical rebellion where there's a clear authority figure trying to impose their power, and somebody is countering that with their own views, or whatever reasons they have, good or bad. Being a rebel is not a good thing sometimes. I was joking about this earlier, but the Confederacy in the United States, not a good rebellion in my mind. Not one of the useful ones, but it was for like a specific reason. It wasn't like we're just doing this because
Well, that's like
we
a
don't.
rebel with a cause, right? There is a rebel. You can have a rebel without a cause, but you can't have a rebel with a cause. I mean, the game changers, the ones who are willing to stand up and say, hey, this isn't right, the ones that are willing to look around them and think differently and go against the grain, right, have been called rebels, but they're the ones that change history, are they not? Yeah, and that in itself is a good rebellion. That's a productive rebellion. So there is, I think a lot of times rebels get a bad rap because they can show up in a very good way, and it can show up in a way that changes the world, which is kind of very cool.
Yeah, I would say that every time I rebel, it's with cause. I'm actually trying to think of a time when I rebel just to rebel. Like I don't do that. So that's a completely different thing for me. Like there's always this big purpose and passion behind my rebellion.
Yeah, I think rebellion or rebel without a cause is boredom. They're just doing something because they're bored. There's no rhyme, no reason. But the with the cause, softly been following Sue Abrams, and I think she's become really, for Georgia, a huge rebel in the sense of she's had to make lots of claims and lots of standing her ground based on how the politics is rolling even in her world. Not trying to bring politics in it, but that's someone right now that stands out to me in that what we're discussing.
I've got a question in terms of like coaching.
Yeah.
How, if you are a coach and you've got a client who's a bit of a rebel, how can you determine if they're rebelling or being a contrarian? Where the rebellion's maybe not like a beneficial thing, it's more of like a block to their goals. They have a goal in mind, and then some rebellious spirit comes up, and it's just they're doing it because they like to be a contrarian and mess things up.
I mean, there's as part of me. I mean, So if you want to coach me, we can coach our way through this. That the moment somebody says, "Hey, Brooke, go left," I'm like, "Wait, what's right?" I have to know what is going on right before I'm going to believe you for me just to go left. Like, I'm not going to just like, no, I'm just going to listen to you because you told me to go left. Mind you, it's probably the right decision, but I have to at least go this way and see for myself before I agree with you and choose to make that decision. So for me, it's about information too, and like the ability for me to make my own sound choices. But there have been many times that I probably could have saved a lot of time and energy just listening to the folks who have said, "Hey, Brooke, it's probably a bad idea."
Like, is it always useful to a person to always question every single freaking thing that comes their way and to like always rebel against it? Like, is it a useful thing to always be like that? I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, but where do you draw the line? Right? As somebody, I think we took a quiz before this to figure out what kind of people we are, and we're all questioners. So my question, I return that question to you: is it always useful to be questioning?
No. Sometimes
you're a self-professed skeptic, right? So
yeah.
So share.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm a self-professed skeptic, yet at the same time, there's some things that you just like. It's just easier just to go with the flow sometimes.
Like what?
Sometimes, like in work, for example, like not this job, but I used to work a very structured, hierarchical job that was similar. It was ran similar to pretty much like a police like station would be. It did not fare well with me to always question the rationale of my authorities, because then nothing would ever get done. And sometimes you need to make very fast decisions with very limited information, and you have to trust the people, above you. And there's that thing, right? There's an important word, is trust. Do you trust the source of the authority or whoever's telling you to do whatever? If you do, then you don't have to question every single, thing that comes your way. You can trust it, and then afterwards you can sort of rationalize the decision however you want to. I trust all of you guys for the most part, Lisa and Brooke. I don't question you guys as much as I probably would like to, but I trust you, so everything's easier that way.
Well, I think that it's a good point. And one of the things that is when I said there are companies that encourage rebellion, they encourage thinking outside of the box, they encourage that people speak up. And there's a couple weird things that go on in that space. Is that with rebelling, the people who rebel know very clearly when and what areas they're allowed to sort of rebel in, like the areas they're allowed to think out of the box in, essentially. But they also know there are some areas that have to stay, it just goes because you got to keep the ball rolling, essentially. So it's almost like there's a safe space for thinking out a rebellion, a safe space for creativity, a safe space, which is kind of in itself contradictory, right? Yes. But I think that ultimately, when you're being a productive rebel, you're like working towards a common goal. You're doing it to have good things happen, and so that hopefully maybe you can create some kind of like change and benefit, maybe in a new way. But you can't just do that by like throwing the book out the window, right?
Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I mean, there has to be some structure to your rebellion if you want to be a productive rebel. um, Back to coaching within that coaching space too. You could go both ways with it. What if you have a client that is so by the book that they're scared to break rules? And what do you do with that?
I'm gonna let Jerome, Kyle, or Jen take this one. I've been
Let's see if my mic is working. Am I good? Am I here?
Yes.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you, Jerome.
Okay.
Woo-hoo!
I think in a space like that, you just got to make sure that your client is aware of the options. You obviously in the space don't want to lead, but asking questions that allow them to kind of unfold some alternate options that they may not have considered is a space that I think can help in kind of helping your client get past that very structured, very rigid way of thinking and, again, alternately thinking along the lines of a rebel.
What if the options, like, you go through the process of like going through the options with them and they're just like, no, I can't break the rules. Like, I see that there's the option to break the rules. I'm not going to on principle because, bad things will happen. And like, what if the client is being so like narrow where they know that there's options, it's just unthinkable to take that extra step or see the benefits of those options?
I might ask who taught you those rules, who gave you those rules, and then also how are those rules serving you in this moment, whatever we're working towards.
So there's a cultural challenge to those kinds of questions. There's some cultures, while they, like, as they are here in the United States, still rely on ancestry, how they were brought up, how they, that's not the word I'm looking for. It works. That they know that they're stuck in this place, that they're not going to make any changes, and yet they're frustrated that they know that they're not going to make these changes. I mean, that's what you're talking about, being so in the space of, in this particular case, their upbringing and who they are, and it's the metaphors, the questions, and how is it serving them, just like you're saying, Jerome. And then maybe in the end, it's just more acceptance. And instead of a leap, they choose something that's about an inch that feels like they're progressing in some direction.
I think that we should talk to Kyle about this a little bit, because I think that Kyle has an innately negative feeling about rebels. So I think that maybe we should have a little convo with Kyle and turn him over to our side, bring him on over. So Kyle, how do you feel about rebellion and rebels? Oh, we can't hear you.
Now
No,
Kyle.
now we can't hear Kyle. We can't hear you.
I think he was having similar issues as me for whatever reason.
We lost Kyle. That's a bummer. Kyle, we
Maybe
can't hear you.
switch off of your AirPods now, maybe, Kyle. That might help.
No, maybe.
You're not hearing either?
Oh man, we lost him. We lost him.
Okay.
Boo! Darn it.
All right, I'll take the place of Kyle. I hate rebels. The reason why I'm skeptical of rebellious people sometimes is because it almost creates a new norm to rebel against. There's a bit of an irony to it where there's this established norm and you're like, I'm going to rebel against it. And then it creates a new norm if it catches on.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
then it produces something else to rebel against, and the cycle just kind of continues.
Totally agree with you there. Like, I completely 100% agree. I mean, it just as somebody who grew up like in scenes, I was punk rock, I was all of these things. You reach a point where you're like, okay, this is not, when everybody around you looks just like you and is saying the same, you're like, nobody here is being an individual at all. And it reached a point where, like, in those scenes where me and one of my friends would be like, it's like everybody's playing dress up at this point. Like,
to add on to that too, it's kind of sucky when you based your identity on being a rebellious person, because you're essentially trying to define yourself by what you're not. you're not like affirming who you are. You are saying, oh, I'm not this and I'm not that. I'm rebelling against those norms. But it's like you're this patchwork of a identity where your only basis of identity is the things that exist, and you're trying not to be those things. So
What are
you
you?
know,
We're at that point. Like, what are you?
what
Yeah.
are
Um,
you? Are you
And
going to
maybe that's
actually
something you
affirm
have with
something?
your. Maybe that's something that comes up with your client. Maybe your client is somebody who is basing their entire life on other people. Like, I don't want to be that. Well, I don't want to act like that. Well, I don't want to be like her. Well, I don't. And that's at that point you ask the question. Well, what do you want to be? I mean, right? What do you want?
Yeah.
I don't care about her. I don't care. What do you want to be? Or okay, what is she being? You know, what are you?
So what you're speaking in, both of you are speaking in, is someone, I call it the contrarian, that person who wants to do the opposite of what's going on, still is doing kind of the same thing, because they're not discerning, opening up to figuring out what is it that they want. And so coaching really can be beneficial for that person.
The other thing too is a lot of times a contrarian is not, people aren't liking that person. They're not listening to that person because that person's not listening to other people. I think that there has to be a willingness to cooperate. Like, if as a rebel, if I'm thinking, okay, I want things to go, we're doing it this way, we got to do it this way. This way is not working. Well, first I'm going to find out why we've been doing it this way for so long. Like, why? Okay, tell me about what's going on and why we do it this way, so that I can have all that information and then go, okay, well, have you ever considered over here? But first I'm going to listen to you and your side of things first before I go, hey, you're doing it wrong. Nobody's at that point, everybody's gonna be like, screw off. Check out. They're all gonna rebel against me. So Jen.
Okay, so I have a question. What do you do when you have a client that you sense is rebelling against their own goals, right? So like they have this goal and then you're following up and they're just like not taking the action that they know will get them to their goal. What's that look like as far as coaching process?
And that happens for many reasons. Like, it's one of the things that Dan talks about is sometimes our own success is our biggest fear. Like, and so we rebel against it. We are our own worst enemies. We will put our own blocks in the way. We will sabotage our own goals.
Yeah,
So
it goes beyond just not doing anything. Like there's some people who will set a goal and then actively sabotage against that goal.
Actively self-sabotage, yes. Actively go.
Yeah. Saboteur. Yep.
So how do you coach that?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. What do you recognize in that person who's doing the saboteur work? What do you see when you're?
I can be a self-sabotager. I can. So I've absolutely been a self-sabotager. We can talk about right now my laundry. It's a self-sabotaging kind of situation I got going on. So if you want, we can coach me through that, because I am putting every obstacle in my way between me and putting away my laundry right now.
Putting away. Yeah, I got that problem too.
I hate it with the passion. I want to rebel. Like, I will do anything not to do my laundry. Anything. Like, I will find any excuse. Mind you, I know, and I say to myself, Brooke, you're going to be happier when it's done. It's this Sunday you're doing it. No, Sunday comes and goes. It's not happening.
Brooke, okay. So what are the thoughts that come up when you think about doing your laundry?
Oh God, I don't want to do it. It's annoying. Why do I have to do this? There's better things to do. I'm tired. This is like the worst thing in the world, but I know that I'll like the result, right? But it's about getting from like that like to okay, the result is important. And also part of me goes, who cares? Like, nobody's coming over.
So when you think all those thoughts, I don't want to, why do I have to, who cares, what do you do?
Anything else, like anything but like anything else. I will find any excuse not to do my laundry. Like,
maybe not doing your laundry is like actually like beneficial for your life, like in an overall sense. Maybe you should have that. I'm not coaching anymore. Like, this is
No, that was total fixing and total.
yeah, this is not coaching.
Yeah.
I'm just offering the alternative view. We all got our piles of laundry that we just don't want to do. We literally do everything else except for the pile of laundry.
I
Is it-
hired somebody
so
to do
what-
my laundry for me. Like, it comes folded. All I have to do is put it away because, like, I know I'm not going to do it. Like, but I still can't put it away. Like, that's
So
that
let me
bad.
ask you this: you're telling us that you should put away the laundry.
Should.
Why should you? Why does that laundry need to be put away in
Because
the first place?
I want it organized. I would prefer seeing it put away. I would prefer having it put away. But yeah, there are. So you're helping me right now, by the way. This is working.
I'm just asking, like, if you said it's
No,
folded.
because I know the end result. I want it organized. And I'm as you're sharing this, I'm realizing what my block here is. Like one of my blocks. Like because if I had a good place for everything to get put away, like if I had, because I feel like right now I don't have a good place for everything to get put away. Like I have too much clothing and I don't have enough space for it. And also I just it's like become overwhelming at this point. You know what I mean? So it's like if I had a good place for everything to go and it was just easy, boom, which I've got it all set up to be easy, but I just have to get rid of some of my clothing. And I just have not done that. And so that kind of ultimately is the issue more than this is Brooke has to go through and like purge out her clothes really bad. And then I'll be okay with putting things away because it'll be easy because everything will have a spot. It won't feel like I'm like jamming things into drawers or like
Jen, I'm gonna put the ball in their court for
everything.
this one.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
like people have room for everything.
So it sounds like creating space is the step that will lead you to putting laundry away.
Yeah, that for me, knowing, yes, creating space would be it would be easier. So now we have to get through the next obstacle, which is me finding the time, energy, and desire to create that space. And that's when I hire like a professional organizer because I just don't want to deal with it.
Getting closer.
It feels like work. Like I work during the day, right? I work when I'm done working and I work a significant amount. The last thing I want to do is work more. Like I don't want to work on I don't want to, I want to like relax and do things that are fun.
So, okay. So it actually sounds like you not putting your laundry away actually works for you.
It does in many ways. Yeah, absolutely it does. But in other ways, it drives me nuts. So it's a double-edged sword.
So
If I could, I mean, I wish I had like, have you ever seen Cinderella? You remember when all the little animals come to life and they help put everything? I want that.
Nick and Danger, they could do that.
I wish my cats did more. I'm constantly asking them to.
That's the magic wand question.
Yes, that's mine. Mine is completely unrealistic. Oh, my goodness.
Ronnie Carol Loiza says in the comments, is a quote good place an excuse, giving yourself grace, or just the reality? So how about tiny steps? 1, purge any extra clothes. 2, bi-weekly laundry and do small batches of laundry 2 to 3 times a week so it never overwhelming. 3, this weekend before doing anything else, pick up the place and put clothing on.
That would be
So-
responsible, Brooke. That's not going to happen.
So
my-
that first question
Really, what
though,
has to happen is I have to invite somebody over. Like I have to invite somebody over to my house, and then it will be clean. It will get clean like instantly, very quickly, and my clothes will be put
Pressure.
away.
so wait, why is that the case though? Why
Why
does
is that the
somebody
case,
else
though?
need to be there?
Because only
Right.
I'm allowed to see my house in the States.
So
Because
There's
Brooke
a-
is an obliger.
there's a weird sort of paradox that's like we kind of take a step back from this example. If Brooke's rebellious nature does its thing, then the laundry won't get done. But some sort of external rule or obligation or like this, I guess, social like thing needs to happen where like, oh, somebody else is gonna come in, see your mess. What happens then when they see your mess, Brooke?
Well, nothing. I mean, I've had plenty of people come in and see my mess. My preference is for it not to be messy though, because I have a pride about my house. Like I have art on every square corner of my house. My house is cool looking when it's put away and put together. And so when people come over, I want them to experience the cool looking house. And if it's a mess, it is not nearly as cool. Like I am a host. I like to host when people come over. I mean, I've done set design, I've done entertainment design, I've thrown epic parties. So I like to have a good space for people to like come in, check it out, be able to, you know, be comfortable. That's very important to me in my space. And it was more important than putting away my laundry. So in that case, it's like I'm creating an experience. Like that is like tapping into my, and so the house gets cleaned very quickly. Also though, sometimes thorn in my side though, because I'll be cleaning it quickly and I'm not putting things away properly. So then it ends up resulting in the mess again later because I can't find anything because it just got like quickly stuffed.
So this is an example of me making an assumption about through coaching. I assume that people coming over would be like an embarrassment thing or like a shame thing going on. It's not. It's just Brooke's like ego now at this point.
To some degree, yeah, it is. It is that. Well, I mean, wouldn't embarrassment and shame, that's ego as well, is it not? Like that is an ego.
True, but that's like the external source of people putting their expectations on how you should have your house.
Oh no, but that's okay. Your expectation, okay. Yeah, I can live with people. I mean,
but that's not. That wasn't the case.
You like
though.
me or you don't like me. I'm not everybody's favorite flavor. It's okay. But if you're coming over, I'm going to show you a good time.
So my next question is: does the laundry out prevent you from inviting people over?
That it does. It does create anxiety because, like, it's like, will I have enough time? Will I, you know what I mean? Absolutely it does. Because so that is an obstacle. And it's another reason why I know, okay, Brooke, you gotta put your line. Like literally, it's all folded. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's just all sitting on my table and right in front of my table right here and not put away. And then so it's like, okay, well, I just find my clothes. It's also convenient because it's like right there. I don't have to think about it. It's not in drawers for me to find.
So again, it's working for you.
Working for me. This is a product of ADHD. Anybody who has ADHD, you empathize with this situation because we are people who make messes, but we know where everything is in our mess. Like we know exactly. And if you touch our mess, we're like, who moved that? Because we know where everything is in our mess. And the moment our mess is moved, we know.
So then again, what is the issue here? Because it seems like there's benefits on both sides. There's benefits to having your laundry out folded, easily accessible. There's benefits to having it organized and put away and going through the work of that. Where on that scale is it tending to?
So that's the thing. I think here is you've tapped into something here. So it's not like I feel bad in like with my laundry out. Like it's not like it's something that it's like, oh man, I hate myself. Like that's not what's going through my head. It's just like, man, it'd be nice if like it was a little cleaner over here. But it's not the end of the world, right? They're far bigger fish for me to fry. And that's kind of the thing is it's not high priority for me most of the time. So like it's a big part of it is prioritization. And what I've done is I prioritize other things above putting that away. Like other things, I've made them more important. And I think that this has just sort of helped me be okay with that, right? Because I will clean it up when I'm ready and when it's time and when it's appropriate, and I'll be fine. Like, so it's I thank you for that. Like, it's this whole thing is I've come to grips or to accept that it's okay that my laundry is not always put away.
Now, this is a good example of this. This was not the best coaching by me by far. But it's a good example of sometimes the goal is just not having that as a goal of coaching. You realize that it's just there's more important things to talk about or do in your life. Whatever the goal.
Too, I mean, you could say, like, I could say that part of it is societal pressure to some degree. And like, you know, I know that other people who are not like me have perfectly clean houses and I should be like them and like all the time. And so there's like that goes on in my head to some degree. But then the rebel in me is like, why? Just do what you're gonna do. This is your house. You pay the rent here. Nobody can tell you it. Like this is your space. Do what you want with it. If you're comfortable, that's you. Like, I don't have to answer to anybody. So
So is that an example of rebelling not against people? Because I don't think has anybody recently told you need to clean your damn house, Brooke?
No. And if I asked anybody to help me, they would all tell me to screw off. So,
Yeah. So it's sort of like you're rebelling against your own expectations or like what you believe other people want you to do. Whether these stories that you tell yourself are true or not, there's a rebellion that's happening that's like an internal rebellion. There's no external or
I
not
have
a lot of
internal. I have a lot of
factors.
internal rebellion. I absolutely do. Jen, it looks like Jen agrees with me. She's got some internal rebellion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have it too. We could do the same exact coaching on me, right? Like I want to paint this wall behind me and I want to make it look all nice when I'm on the lives. I want you to be able to like know who I am a little bit. And this is my third live and I still have this gray wall and it's making me mad. I'm like rebelling against my own desire, my own goal. And I don't really know why.
Kyle, Jerome, coach her now.
I wouldn't say
Anthony's like, I'm getting out of this seat.
Would it be fair to say that Anthony coached Brooke to comfortability, and is that okay to do as a coach? Maybe that isn't necessarily the goal that they came in with, but as Brooke seemed to realize, she's okay with it. And coaching to comfortability, I think comfortability is a goal. I think it's a tangible goal. Would it be fair to say that is what happened, and is that okay?
Also, really quick, one I touch on that, but also what I mentioned. One of the things is, Brooke, why are you not your best guest? Impress yourself. Why are you not worthy of being your own guest, loving yourself, self-love, etc.? Not my mess does not mean I don't love myself. Like I do, and I have a fantastic experience in here. It is very little to do with self-love. It's entirely to do with me just being comfortable. It's actually probably self-love that I don't clean to some degree. But now to what Jerome was saying, one of the things we talk about in class is the goal that a client comes in with is often not what they really end up working on. Like they start in one place and then come to a realization, typically somewhere within that space. Oh, wait, this is actually about this, or this is actually, so a lot of times they may have a goal, but we're not attached to the outcome. Like that's the key here, right? So the outcome can be very different than what the goal can be.
I'm going to add to that. What I did, though, probably wasn't good because I came in with a bias. Like, my intention was to get Brooke to be comfortable with that. If that happens naturally in the process of you being a curious coach and asking questions, so be it. But I did it full disclosure, just like, it's not that big of a deal, Brooke. Like, let's just get you to see my point of view. So don't do what I did.
That was a rebellious coach coaching a rebellious client. That was
right. A rebellious coach coaching a rebellious client. Right?
Anthony, she showed signs that that's what was best for her. Like she showed that she was functioning in that way, and that just coming to this level of acceptance, like at least that's what I saw, was like that was kind of what she wanted.
Oh, no. I jumped on that opportunity to just like, as soon as she like opened the door for it, like I decided to put my own sort of bias in there, which is kind of, it's not the worst thing, but it's probably not best practice as a coach. You should probably explore all the possibilities instead of going with what Brooke wants. And
I just missed you a little at first, though. I had to think of it. Like, I had to come to that conclusion on my own as well. Like, it just, again, that's the rebel in me. You can tell me, but I'm not going to listen to you until I work it through on the inside. And then, Ronnie, I just want to, she said, oh, because you wanted to impress a guest. I agree. And I do want to impress myself too. And I will. That's the moments I will end up cleaning it up, and I will end up and I'll feel good and I'll feel happy, and then I'll make it a mess again, because that's what I do. Just the cycle of my life. And I'm okay with it. I really am. I get it from my dad too. He's the same way.
So maybe working back to Jen now, we sort of got a bit sidetracked.
Well, before you go there, I want to respond to your question. When we're in that coaching place and we recognize that it has transitioned to something different, then it becomes something that we go back to setting, like that contract that we do in the beginning with the coaches. What do they want to work on? They share with you. How will they know they've achieved that? Right. And then it transitions. You bring that all to the forefront. I noticed where we started from. This is what we were speaking about, what we've spoken about, so in that reflection, I notice where we are at the moment that this is coming up. Does this feel like that place of where you want to operate from? So it is bringing it back around. Okay, now go back to Jen. Thank you.
Oh, I was gonna say, damn it, now I forgot. No, I remember. So you said there was some self-rebellion going on. You listed some reasons why having a nice, cool background would be great. It's like self-expression, showing who you are. What's happened? What has prevented you from decorating the wall?
The fact that when the weekend hits, I don't want to paint a wall. I want to go do other stuff. That's what's happening, is that I'm like, oh, you deserve to go outside and do this, and you should do this, and oh, you worked all week, you should do this. It's like I can't bring myself to paint the wall.
Preach it.
I recognize that bit. Why does it have to happen on the weekend, though? What makes the weekend important?
Well, I have to work in this office, so I would prefer to paint it when I'm not working in it. I don't think that's probably good to work in a freshly painted office.
Oh, sorry,
Right?
I forgot that it was painting. For some reason, I was just like, any sort of decor would work, but painting specifically.
Yeah.
So then it needs to happen on the weekend, what I'm hearing, for practical reasons.
I don't know if you might be a little like cooler sitting in a paint fuming room,
Yeah, more enjoyable. So for practical reasons, weekend is the best time to do it. But when the weekend rolls around, you'd rather be doing something else other than painting a wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Brooke?
Is there a way that you could make painting the wall not feel like work?
We could pay her. Make it feel more like
You
work.
said not feel like work. Not feel like work.
Maybe. Yes and no. Oh.
I noticed that you're like ugh when God, can you?
Because it can go either way. I literally could think these thoughts or these thoughts. Like, it could be fun, yes, if I really got excited about it and made it a big deal and put music on and had like a little painting party, right? Or I could stay stuck in this, oh, I don't want to do it. It sucks. It's work. It's boring.
So okay. What do you get from it sucks, it's work, it's boring?
This wall every week. That's what I get. And then the shame that goes along with the wall.
What else do you get though? Because you get more than that.
Oh, I do. I get to spend my weekend doing stuff that doesn't feel like work.
Okay. And then what do you get if you paint the wall? Make it fun.
I get something I want, something that I envision for myself. Like I want to decorate and create my home office. Like I actually am excited about doing that. Now, there we go. There it was. I'm excited about it because it's something.
Tell me more. I want to know more about that excitement. Tell me more about that excitement.
Because as soon as I start to think about the end goal of like walking into my office and just feeling so excited, oh my God, I get to work in this space every day. I created this. This was my vision. This is all me. Like I put in the work. Like that's what I want. I want the feeling that comes on the other side of all the work.
What is that feeling? Proud and accomplished.
and ownership. Like I created something.
And what does pride, accomplishment, and ownership give you?
Fulfillment.
Yeah, I see you're laughing, but fulfillment's pretty awesome, right? I mean,
Yes, that's always clearly what I'm like shooting for with things. That's the second time that's come up as like a word for me. Like, yeah.
So how committed are you to painting the wall, 1 to 10?
Well, now that I've said it out loud, I feel like I don't have a choice. I have to be a 10.
You have to be a 10.
Like-
is there anything that could take you that 10 down from that 10?
No, now that, so what's so interesting is that I had that goal for myself and I wasn't following through with myself. I was rebelling against myself, but now that I've put it into the external, right? Now that I'm being held accountable for everything that I just, declared, right? Now that I've exposed myself, like now I have to follow through with it. I just have to.
Okay.
And I want to. So I'm actually kind of like glad that we put it out there because now I'll just do it.
When do you want to
There was some interesting word choice that you used earlier when you were, getting excited about looking forward towards the rewards. You said putting in the work to like see, what would like be the outcome and like walking into your office. Where before work was like this negative thing, like we were trying to get away from work on the weekend, but you used work in a different sense where going towards work was beneficial to your like goals. I'm just making an observation here, but there seems to be a sort of shift in the way work was used. How are you feeling about this being work, quote unquote?
It's necessary work. Like I actually realized through this conversation that the work is required for me to feel that creative ownership over the space, right? Like if I just snap my fingers and like HGTV came in and gave me this beautiful office, it wouldn't feel the same as if I create it. I would love it and I would be super excited about it. But
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about because snapping your fingers to make an office, pretty nice. Well, not my office, but
yeah, I mean, it's not the same. I want what comes on the other side of the work. So now I have a level of acceptance. I have an awareness of the work as a requirement, and I have a level of acceptance that I'm now actually kind of excited about because that's what I want.
all right. Now we're gonna see you next week. We're gonna force you to be on the live, so there's no getting out of it. But we'll just see, what the wall looks like, and then
Yep.
we'll talk about it for a little bit and go from there. That's the end of our coaching.
Not exactly a coaching moment there. I would have asked her, so when are you going to paint the wall? When are we going to see the
Oh,
wall?
yeah, that's a good point.
When do you want to do that?
I mean, if I take time Saturday to go pick out the paint, and then I can paint Saturday or Sunday. So step one is just getting the paint. Once I have the paint, I'll do it.
Okay. So Saturday you're getting the paint is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
What color? I'm curious.
Like kind of the color of Lisa's shirt, like a
Ooh,
Like a
blue,
is that
like
turquoise?
a bluish teal kind of.
Yeah, it's a
deep teal.
Yeah.
Pretty, very, very pretty. Which I'm not supposed to say as a coach, by the way. Not at all. Now, I saw that Janelle put in the comments, wow, sounds like a lot of pressure being put on the wall. Might be the case, but it is, I mean, that is Jen's choice to apply that pressure. So, and it seems like a pressure that she wants. So I don't think I would question around that necessarily. Lisa, would you?
No, I want to pull in noticing body language. So the things that as we were watching, shifts in her body language. Did you out there in TV land or social media land recognize her features shifted when she started talking about her dream of making it just her space that she will feel welcome to walk into and want to be a part of? Her features completely shifted. And a lot of the times, even in coaching, we'll identify, I just noticed something shifted. What's going on there? And her talking into that experience and really getting into that envisioning, how do you see this wall? Well, I see it as this teal kind of deep shade. And and so getting her even to live in that moment can be beneficial to help her really experience on what she wants to do in that space. It's more on this side an experiment, but it's getting her working in that ideal space even before has done that work.
And we're bringing this all back to our topic of rebellion. This is an example of how Jen and I rebel internally. Like we rebel and we have our own internal rebellions, which is something that you will often find with your clients, that this exists often. And it can go a lot of ways. It can go towards, like with me, I'm just like, okay, I accept it. This is part of me. It's who I am. Or with Jen, tapping her into that desire of the outcome, that desired outcome, and what it will feel like, and how and what that is for her. At least I wanted to ask, when you're exploring in those space, we're just being curious. Like, when do you ask her, well, tell me more about the wall. What color will it be? What will you have on it? Like, that's just being genuinely curious and asking questions in that space, right?
And I missed the question. I heard you say that you had a question there, but did you say, when do you ask that?
Oh no, because the one thing that I worry about is always like, don't want to lead, right? We don't want to lead there. So just being curious is just a way. We're not leading at that point. We're just saying, hey, tell me more about the wall. What's going to be on it? What are you going to do with it? And being genuinely interested in that can probably get the client excited about the outcome, right? Okay. Just making sure I understood correctly. That's all.
That's that internal cheerleader. We use that word, but we're not the cheerleaders. Coaches are not the cheerleaders, but it's helping that client find their internal space that cheers them on and moves them and helps them be attached to what they are envisioning.
Yeah, and I think I probably gave all the right cues to show that the more that I envisioned it, the more that I, really went there in my head, the more excitement built within me, and the more I kind of became aligned with the next action that I would need to take to get there.
Yeah, and a good rainy day.
Yeah, right. I was thinking, like in my head, like you said, music party, just make it a painting party.
Yeah.
But I love to paint. Like I worked on a paint crew for a long time. I painted a lot of things in my life, so painting is very fun for me. So
I don't like to paint, not one.
I don't like to mask though. This is my problem. I like painting. It's like the masking things off part is like the worst part for me though.
Just want to get someone else to do it. I think we're winding down. I want to hear one rebellious thing each of you guys have done in your life. The most rebellious thing.
Are we gonna productive rebellion? Because let's talk about productive rebellion.
Okay.
Productive.
I have one I can share. So when I worked at Knott's, I was kind of known for we had this huge event not Scary Farm. Job was to scare the crap out of people. Well, my entire time there, I was always pushing the envelope. Like, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this thing? So one of the things we did is, it used to be that you couldn't upcharge within and create an experience where people, like, it was going to be small. There wasn't going to be a lot of people going through it. So I found a way for us to actually build this maze called Trapped that only a very small amount of people could get through. We charged more for it, but there was like the experience was dialed up. You know, people were going to touch you. They were all these crazy things are going to happen that could not happen. It could never have happened before at Knott's, and it huge hit. It did awesome. I also brought in. What's it called? Laser tag, but for zombie, we did zombie laser tag, and created an entire like video game experience essentially with objectives and all these things where we had people. And none of this had ever been done before at all with Knott's. And then my favorite thing that I did was like, why can't we create a swamp inside a maze? Like, you can't do that. No, we can do that. We can create a swamp inside a maze. And we literally took a warehouse, and half of the warehouse was built over water, a giant pool that we put in there, and we created a bayou in the middle of the maze. And all things that everybody was like, that could never happen. And I was like, no, we'll find a way. Let's do it. And so something, a rebellious spirit I have always had, but in a productive way that scared the crap out of people.
Jerome.
Cool story.
I use a blinker when I drive. That seems to be pretty rebellious. You know, if I had to think about it, I think probably in a social setting, I'm pretty rebellious. When I go out and I have a good time, I don't like to stick to a schedule. So, for example, if I go to an amusement park, that irritates me to actually have to stay stuck to some certain schedule, a particular schedule that was come up prior to us actually coming to the park. And I think deviating from that schedule, ultimately, for the most part, for everybody, kind of helps them enjoy the moment a bit better, because kind of like what we were talking about, separation of work and fun. I think when you stick to a schedule, when you're trying to have, a leisurely time, then you're kind of working work into that. So I think when it comes to social settings, I like to be free and loose, and hopefully people join me along in that journey.
Have you ever taken a vacation with like another group of people, and like afterwards you were like, that was like a job? Like, oh my God, well, there was no relaxing. I'm never doing that again. Yeah, I agree with you.
Most rebellious thing you've done?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I don't know if it's the most rebellious thing, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. It was sort of on the lines of working, and I do a lot of reporting and paperwork, and I ask a lot of people for their feedback and questions, and I reach out to them, and it was like email work. I was putting everything through an email, you answer this question, and then I had to put it on my document, on my report, which was tedious to say the least, and very long to wait on everybody else. So I kind of threw out my own suggestion that why don't we use Google Documents? It's something that people can all go on at the same time. And this was like, it seems like an easy answer fix, but it was a completely rebellious thing to do, of letting other people in the report prior to the report being completed. It was like, what are you doing? After the first year of suggesting it and doing it and kind of doing it and asking for permission later, it was a huge success. It was the best feedback we started seeing from others, because they could chime in on their own time. They didn't have to wait for an email response. They could see all the live work I was doing at that time. And just that little sense of rebelling of, this isn't working, this typical email and stuff like that, it's not working for me anymore. And seeing that, I don't know, work smarter, not harder, and we know what's out there. So that's kind of where I could see my rebel wave thrown in there.
Awesome, by the way, Kyle, for embracing your rebellious spirit. Rebelling for good.
I think Jen.
Lisa? Jen?
Lisa?
Yeah, either one.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, no, we can't hear
Oh,
Jen.
no.
What is this?
It's taking turns with people.
Yeah.
Lisa, go.
We'll get you next. We'll try again in a minute, Jen.
So let's see if I can shorten this story. The story is I don't let a closed door keep me out. I always find ways in. I think that's the quickest way around this story. I tend to look for alternatives. I tend to see what other opportunities there are. And then I always have people coming with me. So I'm in that place, bringing them along with me. I check closed doors, see if they're locked, and that's just something I've always done. So.
Jen, is your audio working?
Maybe.
No. Well, that's been about an hour, so I think we'll
Well,
need to wrap.
Anthony, wait, you're rebellious.
Yeah.
All right, so this one's like personal, not like work related, but like, and this is also not productive. This is specifically anti-productive. I got a vasectomy at the age of 25, and when the doctor asked me, I had like a few doctors like ask, "Are you sure you want to do this? You're so young." The fact that I was questioned on that gave me the 100% reassurance is like, oh yeah, this is what I want. Like the fact that I had somebody challenge that, put that rebel kind of spirit in me, was like, let's do this, let's go for this. So it's not really interesting or productive, but you know, it's a little bit rebellious, I guess, for a guy my age. So that's kind of interesting.
Definitely interesting. Thank you for sharing.
So I think that about wraps it up. So go out there, be rebellious, let your clients embrace the rebel while still questioning on them and
you know what?
challenging them.
I just want to bring this up. CLCI, we're a bunch of rebels. You know why? Because we certify life coaches in 3 days. Nobody else out there does that, and we get questioned daily with how we do it. We are rebels for so many reasons. We're rebels because our staff is who our staff is. We are a rebellious lot, and so if you want to harness your inner rebel and come and be trained by a bunch of awesome rebel coaches, check out Certified Life Coach Institute, certifiedlifecoachinstitute.com. And if you like this video, like it, share it, do all that good stuff. Don't rebel against it. Share it with the world.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Once again, this is brought to you by Certified Life Coach Institute. We're an ICF accredited school who certifies our life coaches in 3-day online intensive courses. In addition to other podcast episodes, feel free to check us out every Tuesday at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook for our CLCI Lives, where we get together and discuss various topics that are centered around sharpening your skills so you can become a better certified life coach. For more information, feel free to visit us at certifiedlifecoachinstitute.com. Until next time, be well.